So let's talk about why hockey players never reach their full potential. I basically am writing all of these articles and going to be continually putting out these blog articles specifically to try to help players who are 13 to 20 years old, who are really making a move with a dream to play professional hockey. They have this kind of long-term goal for themselves, and my goal is to put this out there. So I'm going to be reading from the blog that you can get at courseandsorrels.com, and I want to break it down for you guys in more detail. So number one, I'm writing this for you. Like, I really am writing this for the players who their goal is to make it somewhere. They want to go to NCAA. They want to make it to a higher level. But the thing is, like, they know they have this dream of dominating on the ice, being truly confident as a player and a person, but they don't know what to do. And they're not doing that right now. They're not confident on the ice. So you're working hard, you're searching for answers online, and you're really like set with this goal. Now, I was once in your shoes, and I wish that I had this information downloaded into my brain when I was younger. I wish I'd have been able to understand the things I now am about to teach you, because if I had have had that information, it would have helped me a ton, and it would have saved me a lot of stress. Because really, I think I'm writing this because I know that professional and high-level players know this stuff, and I know now that there is a mental approach, there is an approach to hockey that I could have taken, but I missed out on understanding that. So the next thing I want to talk about is just where to start. So first of all, the first thing you must understand, and this is the harsh truth of reality in hockey and life, is that no one actually gives a shit about how badly you want it or about how you feel. It's like tough to actually hear that, but the thing is that people care about what you provide. They care about the results that you bring to them. So most players either don't know this, or they forget about this, or they get wrapped up in the politics of the of the game, or like the politics around the game. And what I mean by politics is, number one, like not playing enough. So, they're getting sat, they're getting benched, they're getting taken off and like being scratched for games. They're not like they're seeing other players get favored. There's like other stress with parents or other players or other things that are all getting in the way. That's what I consider politics, is like the stuff that's like not hockey. Now, here's the thing. If you're not good enough, you're very unlikely to be affected by politics. I know it sounds crazy, but you have to think about this is like, even in the face of like challenges off of the ice, if you are good enough, your greatness will shine through. So the fact is that most hockey players just never actually reach their full potential because they lose sight of what they actually control. And what they can control is like a whole different part of their game, which I'll explain to you in a second. It's not that these players like don't care enough. It's not that they don't want it bad enough, because I know you do want it bad enough. You're watching a long form piece of content on how to improve yourself as a hockey player. But it's that the focus you have is in the wrong direction. Like, you're wasting valuable energy, valuable time, and you're placing blame on things that you can't control. Now, this is me speaking to my younger self here. This is the stuff I wish I understood a lot better. So the question is, like, what are the things that you should focus on? That becomes the next question. Here's the thing. You want to bring focus to one core thing. Your entire focus should be on getting better every single year. I know it sounds crazy. I know you probably never heard this concept before, but I'll say it another way. You should be your focus should be on your own development and nothing else. That's the secret that the sons and daughters of NHL players, that's the secret that they have that other people don't always get access to. So now, that when you do put that focus in, when you put your focus on your own development and you let the rest of the stuff go, that's when the whole world opens up, because suddenly you can play the game of providing value to a team instead of playing the game of how can I be like liked by other people or all these other things about how badly you want it. Again, no one gives a shit about that stuff. No one actually cares. What people care about is that you provide a result to them. You provide value. So let's break this down in a little bit more clear terms, because what happens is that people will say development. I'm sure you've heard this concept before, but then they kind of, what they'll do is they'll just say, yep, okay, cool, development. and then they just leave you stranded to like figure out what that actually means. So first of all, let's break it down into two core components of development. I think these are the two most important things to understand as a like fundamental framework. There's a lot more depth we can go into. I go in a lot more depth in the Next Level Academy, but there's just so much more you can dig into, and we'll dig into this more like as we go on in other YouTube videos as well. But here's the thing. People either fall behind because of timing, so the speed of their improvement, or they fall behind because they direct their attention in, like, they don't focus on the right skills at the right time. So what I mean by this is many players fail because they don't actually develop their skills quickly enough, and therefore they fall behind, like behind their peers, and then the gap widens over time. And if that gap gets big enough, and you realize like, okay, like I'm not going to be able to close this in the next year or a couple years. When that happens, that's when people just stop playing. Like that's when people give up, because they realize like, okay, here's my identity, here's who I am as a player. I'm just a lower ability player than that person. And once you've accepted that on a deep fundamental level, that's kind of where you're going to end up, because whatever you truly believe, like your true identity, who you believe you are, like that's who you're going to end up being, because that's all your actions align with that belief. If you don't believe me, like go talk to anybody in any league. There's very rarely anybody who truly believes they are better than what league they end up in, like over the course of their whole career. Maybe like 1 year they may be offset, or a few years, but in the long run, like you get to where you truly believe you can be, as long as you have like a fundamental amount of skill. I'm not telling you if you like learn to play at like 15 or 20 or something, you're not going to just like magically think your way to the NHL. This is if you've been on that kind of AA to AAA path, usually AAA path. You've been a good player, but like you just don't know like why you can't keep getting better, like why you can't separate yourself from other people, or why you're falling behind other people. Now, this ties into the second piece, which is direction. And what I mean by direction is it's the right skill at the right time. So other people, when you've probably seen this, or you may have done this, you improve rapidly, but you do it in the wrong area. So you become like a master of skills that aren't actually critical to succeed at the next level. So this is the important thing that people don't understand, is that you can work really hard, but if you don't develop the right skill for the next level, it may help you here, but it will lead you to failure in the future. It's almost like worse in a lot of ways than actually developing, like not developing, because you've actually headed in like sometimes like the opposite direction of what you needed to work on, or you've built like really bad habits that actually hurt your game when you do move up against better players. So for example, this is a good example to think about. Like, have you ever played or ever seen a player who had a really high quality shot at a younger age? I knew a couple players who were like this, and they became very reliant on that ability. So they put their emphasis on trying to always focus on skill, the skill that they had, and like only caring about that one main thing. And they never actually built like supporting skills to allow that skill to continue to be successful at higher levels. So what happened is that other players started to catch up and get close to them with their shooting, and the other people had already worked on the other skills necessary. So once the shooting kind of like leveled out and it became pretty like equal, or close to equal, like that player still shot like better than people, but not much. Now other people's other skills made them more valuable. So that's what ends up happening, is like you basically become so reliant that you neglect other things. The skills atrophy. So like with muscles, if you don't work the muscle, it starts to atrophy. And then basically what will happen is that you fall back into the first trap, which is you basically like fall behind. You end up behind people again. And then when that gap widens enough, you realize, hey, I'm never going to catch up, and boom, you stop. So why does this keep happening? Why do people keep falling into these traps? So it boils down to two core things: information, and then a lack of clear development in terms of coaching and advice. So imagine if like every aspiring player had access to a world-class development coach. Imagine if everybody had access to the same high-level coaches. You would probably see most players actually realize their full potential, or at least all the players that worked hard. So let's say it's whatever, the top 50 or 25 or 10%. I don't really know. It's hard to determine really how hard everyone works, because I think when you're good, you also have the motivation to want to keep working harder. That's also plays a factor into it too. So yeah, that's the piece to really understand is like, okay, yeah, I want to succeed, but there's this like lack of information that you have here, or you're not getting like quality development advice. So then that's what ends up happening. So then what's the alternative if you don't have a high level development coach, you don't have the info, you don't have clear development and coaching advice? Think about it this way. If you are a junior hockey player, and the reason I want to kind of take a turn here is to understand, okay, so if you're like a junior player and you often, and I promise I'm going to come back into this in terms of what's the alternative, but understand like as a junior player, you have limited time for your development. And what happens with this, and this is like where things start to get serious. So for example, like let's say you're 15, you are about to go into junior hockey, but most people think like, oh, okay, like it's not too big of a rush. We'll set up like what happens is like a fragmented system. So we have a strength and conditioning coach, we have a skills coach, we have maybe a mental coach. Very rarely. That's specifically what I like, my expertise. That's what I've like developed first. But that's what happens, right? Is people will put together this kind of fragmented system of a bunch of people doing a bunch of different stuff. There's no real alignment between these things, and then basically they're just doing what everyone else does. Like it's not special. Like I'm telling you now, you're not special if you have a strength coach and you have a skills coach. Like if you go to those two things, that's what like most of the like junior guys are doing. And a few guys, it's rare right now, have a mental coach. So that's the other thing is like if you can remove that bottleneck and make sure you're fully focused, confident, you have high IQ, that will separate you from a lot of people. Because like if you think about the logic of it, that's what's going to make people like, that's what's going to separate you if you do something different than other people and you become better in some area that caps a lot of people. So being confident, being focused, being like having really high IQ does that for like a lot of players, at least that I've worked with and that I've seen work with other mental coaches. But again, no alignment. So you do all this stuff, but nothing really aligns. You just kind of have a guy who makes you confident. You have a guy who makes you more skilled. You have a guy who makes you stronger, but they don't connect in any way. And if you're 15, for example, and you're going into junior, here's like a simple calculator to use to calculate like how much time you actually have. So first of all, you have average minutes per game, right? So you times that by the number of games that you actually play per season, and then you times that by seasons in junior. So for example, let's say you play 15 minutes a game. It's pretty normal. Maybe you play a little more, a little less. But then you play 50 games times 5 seasons. So that's about 62.5 hours of game time. You can go calculate it if you want, or I can save you the time. I already did this. Double check, triple checked it. But each year you play about 12.5 hours of actual game time, like you individually. So that means each season, all the work you do leads to 12.5 hours of actual content that scouts and different people see that allow you to either move up levels in junior or move up from like college or move up to college or to pro or college then pro, right? So you only have 12.5 hours, 12.5 hours a season. It's not a lot of time. I know it like at first you think, oh, I have a whole season, I have this, I have that. It cuts down quick. So we have a limited time to play. We also have a limited time to develop. So think about it this way. When we think about like honing in our skills, really for a year, and again, you can trust me on these calculations or you can go do it yourself, you can pause it or whatever and go check. But we're awake each year about 5,840 hours per year, right? About that. Now, if you sleep 8 hours, you're awake 16 hours per day. And let's say you train 5 hours per day. I think that's pretty reasonable. Maybe you do a little more, maybe you do a little less, but I think that's a pretty solid amount. That's what I recommend a lot of guys do, is kind of have like, we can talk about this in other articles, how to like have like a 5-hour training day. But how would you actually hit 1,000, or you would actually hit 1,825 hours per year of hockey training. This includes like in season and off season. If you do 5 hours per day, obviously you take away like 50 days for those game days. You may train a lot less on those days. So again, like you're really looking at, if you think about it, it's, maybe you're doing like 1,500 hours of training per year. And that means over the course of a whole like junior season, you're doing, let's say, like approximately, you're doing somewhere around like 7,000 to 9,000. If you do exactly 5 hours per day, you would hit 9,131 hours over the 5 years. So, and then if you're in junior, you want to subtract 1,826.2 like per year you've played from that 9,131. Pretty crazy when you put the numbers in front of you and you understand you have a finite amount of time, so a limited amount of time to play this game and get better, and play the game of development, play the game of getting better. And everyone is going to have that same general time. Like every dedicated player is going to be spending it doing work, right? So now the next question becomes, how are you leveraging your time? The question is, how are you using your time? Are you using it wisely and actually getting the most out of it? Do you have a clear development system in place? Here are the two biggest things I think that every player should really focus on in terms of being most effective with their time. So number one, working hard, and then number two, get a development coach to advise you. With the first one, working hard. This is not some kind of rocket science thing, but it is something I want to highlight to people, because when people really understand like what going all out means and working harder than everyone else around you and outworking people that are not just around you, but that like are in the whole hockey world, you're truly outworking people. What you can do is, if you work 5% harder per session, that's the recommendation I always have for players. Like think like just that extra 5%. People say 1%. I like to think 5% because it's like really just trying to create as much separation as you can. You do that every single session. That's not new, but it will separate you from the core pack, the players who are just kind of doing the necessary normal stuff. So if you push yourself into that range, you really drive yourself forward, then the next piece will kind of like, now it becomes valuable. Because if you're not working harder than everyone and creating that 5% compounding effect, and when I say compounding effect, it's like investments, like things compound on top of each other. If you're not doing that, like getting that 5% improvement, then you shouldn't really worry about other stuff until you can figure out the mental stuff you need to do in order to start pushing yourself harder. And that's why I would recommend doing my free course, free identity training. That will help you to break through the mental barriers you have so that you can fix this first section of actually just working harder. Then the next piece is get a development coach to advise you, because this ties to everything we talked about before, because many players develop, but they get derailed. Like their development gets like pulled off course and gets like pulled into different directions because, number one, the coaching advice is really just not clear. There's no clarity. It's fragmented. A whole bunch of people are giving you all different advice. There's no kind of central point besides like your own biased brain that's trying to solve these problems. Then you have coaches who have a really short-term like goal in mind, which is like win the season. They're not as focused on your development, which in the long term, if someone's not focused on your development is not going to continue as much. Like, I feel like it's kind of a natural process. You also have parents oftentimes who lack information, or obviously players, or whoever you're getting advice from, or if it's just you lack the information, or you have an agent who just doesn't have your best interests at heart. Like, they're not thinking about how can you develop and keep getting better. They're just thinking, well, what's going to look better for me? And if they don't think you have an opportunity to succeed, they'll oftentimes just kind of stop like paying attention to you. Sounds shitty, but I've seen it happen with like dozens of players. It's really frustrating and sad when it happens, but like it will happen. And this is not me like ripping apart agents in general. I think that there are lots of great agents out there. It's just keeping in mind that like it's an incentive for them to help you if you can get them better results, and you can look better. You can be someone that they show as like, here's a poster child of what we did. So if you can be that for them, then they want that. But if you aren't, think about it. Like what do they really, besides just the goodness of their heart, like why are they really helping you? You know, you paid them the upfront fee or whatever it is, and then that's what you get. So what you really need, and tying it back to the development coach thing, is you need someone who genuinely cares about your development, right? Because someone who's hired as your development coach wants you to develop, and that's the key. They're not just going to give you basic advice. They're going to advise you and connect you to what you need. And you need more than that. Like, you need more than just coach saying, even though I said work harder, like just having a coach say work hard. Okay, but like break it down. How do I do this? Okay, the coach says, okay, you got to get more. I've had some of my clients say you got to be heavier. Well, what does that mean? Coaches will just say that but not really explain it. And obviously you can't just gain weight magically in the season. So it's like explaining those details, and that's what a development coach will do, is break it down and understand you need more than just some basic advice. You need more than just the advisor's connections. You need clear and consistent roadmaps, or a clear and consistent roadmap to success. You actually need a laid out system that can adapt as you grow and actually help you prepare and successfully level up year after year. And that's like a true development coach. That's what they will do for you. And that is what I do for my players in the Next Level Academy Online and the Next Level Academy Platinum Coaching Program. So here's the thing. Let's face the truth for a second. Like, change begins when you accept the reality of the situation. And the truth is, for you, is that you are not as good as you want to be and as good as you need to be to play where you need to play. And your plan is not going to get you to where you want to go. And it's okay to admit that like you're lacking advice, or that you feel like you're in like a fog of confusion, right? Like your things are going all over the place. You're stressed out because you don't know what to do. It's okay. And once you accept this, you have now laid like a foundation to now actually like build something off of. You build the foundation of truth. Like, that's what I say. Like, you can't like try to build yourself into a player when you're lying to yourself and saying, I'm good at this thing, I'm good at that thing. Because like at the end of the day, you'll fail because you aren't actually good at the things you're saying you are, or you think you are. So you can't be delusional about your current skill set. You just need to be delusional about your long-term possibilities. That's why I always tell people, it's like, believe you can be better than you ever imagined you could. And once you have that, now you can build, because you have this foundation. You can set those big goals, and now you can actually assess and create a plan to fix it. And that's what I'm going to do in future articles. I will help you actually dive deeper into these concepts. My goal is to keep providing you with tools and strategies that you need to reach your full potential. So I want you to stay tuned to this. If this is something you really care about, really stay tuned to it, and it will make a huge difference for you. Now, if you enjoyed this article and you want to go deeper with this, I do want to introduce you to the Next Level Academy real quick. So I want to plug this here. So the Next Level Academy is your online coaching program. And what the question a lot of people ask, like, so why did I actually create the Next Level Academy, or NLA? So I made it to provide hockey players with really what you need and the guidance you need to reach your hockey dreams. Like, for real. Not just the quick like 1 month mentality of here's some advice, go figure it out. I really made this program, and not just a program, I made it a system to actually propel you to the next level. And here's what we do. Number one, we build your next level mindset. So we start by laying the groundwork for your future in hockey. So we focus on developing your mindset, your beliefs, your focus, your confidence, and your hockey IQ. This is the foundation upon which all of your skills will actually be built. Because if you have all the skill, but you don't have the belief, you don't have the confidence, you don't have the focus, you don't have the IQ, you either already know it doesn't work, or you know that you will fail eventually, because those things will catch up to you. Then, we help you tailor your skill stack, so stack your skills together in a unique way to build your own actual identity. We provide a mental framework to help you actually build that unique skill stack and the physical abilities. And the reason we do this is because many players waste time working on skills that don't actually align with their style of play, and we want to help you avoid these pitfalls so you don't run into this. And then number three, we optimize your physical training. And I'm sure you've seen this before. Like, you've seen players that they hit the gym, they focus on the wrong muscles, they use inefficient methods, and that's really why we developed a world-class skill and physical training system. We help you build a cohesive training system that matches your style of play and, again, propels you towards your goals. Everything is about propelling you towards your goals, not just about, like trying to get you a quick fix that doesn't help you in the long run. It's about actually helping you truly build that roadmap. Then we integrate your current coaches. So a question that a lot of people ask when they're like thinking about joining this program is, so if I already have a personal trainer or a skills coach, like what do I do? Well, that's not a problem. The system is designed to seamlessly integrate your existing trainers of any kind. So if you have a skills trainer, you have a strength and conditioning coach, you have a psychologist that you work with, an IQ coach, an advisor, we believe in leveraging all of the resources you have or want to add, and will even help you, and this is what I try to do, is help advise you to add on those things that you need. That's the whole point. And think about this from like building your own system, like regardless if you consider the Next Level Academy, is like, think about how you integrate all these things into the business of you. How does it all work together, and how do you use these as resources to keep building the business of you? Then number 5, this is kind of the key to it all. We create a connected system. So we help you tie it all together. We create a connected, efficient system instead of a fragmented mess. Because a lot of people have a fragmented mess for a development system. And a lot of people don't even know they have a development system, which is the craziest part. Because this is what a true development system actually is. It's designed to take you to the next level, and then the next, and then the next. That is what the Next Level Academy online coaching program is about. So if you're ready to actually become a next level player, you're ready to stop guessing and start progressing, if you're serious about your hockey future, it's time to join the Next Level Academy. And let's get started on your journey to the top. So I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm going to continue to put this stuff out. Goal is to put out at least one of these type of things per week, depending on the schedule. We may do more, we may do spread them out, maybe do one every 2 weeks, but the goal is like to start really leveling up this stuff, put out some more blogs. So again, if you want to read this, I will have this as a blog, or if you're reading this on the actual website, you'll see like the written section below. So you can read through this, you can highlight stuff, you can steal stuff from it. And if you want to check out anything else, it's just all at courseandsorrels.com. So I'll see you guys in the next video. I appreciate your time, and subscribe if you want to kind of see this stuff pop up more often. And if you hit the notification thing, then you'll actually see it come up. But yeah, then also free course. Also, if you really enjoy this stuff, also just try the free course out. It's free mental or free identity course. It'll help you a ton. Get started with meditation, visualization, mental programming, help you break your beliefs. It'll take you through the whole system that we teach in the Next Level Academy, but it really is like the foundational level 1 of all that. So I hope that helps you guys. I'll see you guys in the next